Guys, Midnight Club Chats, episodes 4 to 6 tonight. Yay! I can't wait to chat with you and my special guest tonight, all about Midnight Club. And I've got new earphones tonight, so I'm hoping that they won't be crackly. But if they are, please let me know, because I don't want to sound like an old witch again. Hi, Karen. Hello, Larissa. Right, let me add everyone in. Okay, bear with me. This is when I have to what to do all the time. Right, who have I missed? Let me have a look. Sounds fine. Brilliant. Yay. Woohoo. Hi, Emma.
Hello.
Hello, you all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Oh, we have a spooky John.
Hey, can you hear me?
That.
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. And then I've just got to invite Daniel, and then we're all there. Hi, Melina. Hi, Michelle. Another Michelle. Double trouble. Oh, and John's got his Point Horror t-shirt on.
I don't have a Pike t-shirt. Dearth of Pike t-shirts.
Oh dear. Oh, how are you guys? You all right?
Yeah, do you like my tree?
I do. I was just looking at it. I was like, ooh.
Fabulous.
It's time.
I love it. Is it like a big spider on the top?
Yeah, that's my angel, the spider or star.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
Hello.
hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Hey, Daniel.
Oh, no, we were just admiring Emma's spooky tree behind it. It's brilliant. Oh, I love it. And the skull. Oh, I love it. I need one, definitely. How are you, Daniel? You all right?
I'm really good.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
I just rewatched Witch today, so I'm
all prepared.
Second time around.
Oh, Narissa said Halloween trees are the way to go, and I agree. I do think I need a Halloween tree. Definitely. So thank you guys for joining us. So obviously we've got the wonderful Emma with us tonight, and we've got our two special guests, John with the little bat he has, and then
which might not stay on the whole way through.
No, that's it now. You've committed. you've got to wear them the whole way through. And then the wonderful Daniel joining us. So I like to do at the start of these Midnight Club chats a little chant. So we raise our mugs and say, to those before, to those after, to us now, and to those beyond, seen or unseen, here but not here. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm afraid mine's just water, though. It's nothing exciting. Have a little sip. So we're going to be chatting all about the Midnight Club, so episodes 4 to 6. That's right, isn't it? 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Well, I had to count then. Doubted myself. Just to mention, I am doing a giveaway on my feed of I've got 5 copies of the new re-edition, thanks to the publishers, to give away, and because we're doing these chats and just because they're awesome. So if you want to enter, if you're UK and Ireland, please enter. I will do an international giveaway soon. Emma's got her copy there. Oh, why are we stroking it? We got a bit creepy there. So after chatting about episodes 1 to 3 last week, we're jumping all into episodes 4 to 6. I'm going to be chatting Christopher Pike and more. So the Midnight Club is basically at a manor with a mysterious history. 8 members of the Midnight Club meet each night at midnight to tell sinister stories and to look for signs of the supernatural from the beyond. And obviously it's based on the Christopher Pike novel of the same name. And Christopher Pike has written dozens of YA thrillers and horror stories during the 80s and 90s. And we're all big fans of Christopher Pike. And obviously Mike Flanagan is behind the 10-part series, who I will definitely be watching more Mike Flanagan after this, because I'm loving it. And obviously apparently it's meant to have they're saying it's are you afraid of the dark vibes, but Flanagan. that's what they keep saying, so I'm down for that. Definitely. So there will be spoilers ahead, probably for episodes 1 to 3 and what we're chatting about tonight. We'll try not to spoil the last 4 episodes. I know I haven't watched them
I haven't.
on purpose. Emma
I
hasn't.
haven't.
John hasn't. I think Daniel has. So
Oh, Daniel! There's always one.
It was Nerissa last week, Daniel this week.
You're just Dan's just an overachiever.
I stayed up till 2 a.m. last Saturday, so I could
Wow.
watch them all. I just
Which is a good sign.
there was like 2 more
Commitment.
left, and I didn't want to save it to the next day.
Oh,
Also, I didn't want to have it spoiled.
yeah, no, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've managed to avoid spoilers so far, Daniel. No. I'm only messing. But yeah, oh yeah, Marissa said we've done well pacing ourselves, and I think we have done well, you know. High five.
Yes.
Because we've done no high fiving for you, Daniel. Oh, we'll high five after. So obviously we're huge Pike fans, and I know me and Emma in last week's chatted a bit about Pike, but for John and Daniel, like, what is your history with Pike? Have you been fans for years, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I moved on to Pike after reading Point Horror and Nightmares. I think it's kind of the natural route that most people have gone. Like, Point Horrors was fun. Like, I was like 12, 13 when I started with those. And then, yeah, the Nightmares one, we're getting a bit more creepier rather than the fake outs that you get in many of the Point Horrors.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Pike just seemed, even though they were YA books, like they felt like, and some of them I think really can be more adult reading. And yeah, like I started working in a library when I was 16. So it was just easy to get hold of all of his books. So I didn't collect as many of them, which is why I'm now collecting them now.
Oh, nice. So it's just amazing how that's the natural progression people seem to have gone, and then they start collecting them and then recollecting them now. It's amazing. Your collection is fab. I love it. Brilliant. How about you, John? What's your kind of history with Pike? I know you've got an interesting story here, so I'm really excited for you to tell it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stumbled upon Pike by accident. I found the first book I read of his was Witch, and I found it in the library. It kind of was on the shelf. Never really heard of him before, but the name Christopher Pike was really interesting. I didn't have that connotation with Star Trek, so I didn't kind of go, oh, is this a Star Trek? I just thought this sounds really interesting. Unlike Daniel, I think I've been reading some of the Point Horrors and found them a bit lacking. And yeah, this kind of just seemed interesting. And I think I read the whole thing in one sitting, was absolutely hooked. I make no bones about saying I cried at the end of Witch. It really touched me. And I was like, and then I saw in the inside, obviously, I think Witch was 1990. So there were several of his books that I'd never heard of before that. And from there on in, I just started buying them. I worked in a bookstore myself when I was a teenager. In my hometown, so I was able to get the books as they came out. I kind of, was responsible for like the YA section, so we would shove the Point Horrors and the Pikes kind of right up there, and and then luckily actually managed to get to interview the guy many years later. At the time I was at school and had a real interest in journalism. And there was a magazine that was in the school library called Books for Keeps, which unless you were really kind of nerdy and really into books, you probably wouldn't have even ever noticed, even if it was in your school. But I kind of wrote to them and said, hey, I'm a big Christopher Pike fan. I'd love to write something. They never covered him. And they said, sure, write something. So I kind of bashed out this big article in Books for Keeps, which looks like this.
And he still has it.
And I still have it. I have a couple of
amazing.
copies of the magazine in a hard copy. But this was just like a sort of, a love letter to like why I was loving Pike. And they said, oh, this is really good. And they paid me for it, which was kind of exciting when you're about 13 or 14 and you get a check through the post for like 40 quid or 41 quid, I think it was. They asked me to review some things, which was great. And then through that, I got invited to actually go meet Christopher Pike in London. He came to Hodge & Stoughton's offices in it must have been the early 90s. It must have been, my memory addles me.
Yeah.
Couldn't go. because
no.
things stay the same and they change, but there was a train strike in that day that meant I couldn't get to London. I know, I couldn't get to London to meet him on this press tour. I was absolutely gutted. I went to Alton Towers and walked around with a face like thunder the whole day because there was just no way it was any better. So yeah, that was it, and I put it out the back of my mind. But fate kind of spun around, like fate's like in a Christopher Pike novel, spun around, and a couple of years later, and I can't remember how, I was writing for other magazines, other YA kids books magazines. I was kind of writing regular slots for them, and the opportunities came up to interview him by phone. So that kind of came about, and he called me up from Santa Barbara, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half, which was kind of incredible. I was trying to be really, really, really professional about it, but you can imagine me kind of on the phone going, and at home I was yeah, so we had a really, really, really good chat, and again, that is here, and I've dug out the actual interview, which I still found here. Now, it's terribly written. Please don't judge me for my terrible writing at the time, but that was about 90... That would have been about 93 or 92, I think. Anyway, it was right towards the end of his big kind of YA boom. He hadn't even published The Grave then, but I think he'd just done Magic Fire, which was probably one of the last ones of his kind of main sort of contract at the time. So it was kind of late on into his career then. So, but yeah, what a great opportunity. I feel very lucky, very lucky.
It's so amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, you've got to share that on the live. It's just an amazing story. And you got given some like covers as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but I don't. Well, I've actually, I got loads of. The publisher sent me a whole press back, including, which I didn't even think about at the time when I was chatting to yourselves, including an unused cover for the UK version of The Eternal Enemy, which gives away the entire actual twist of the book completely, and the finished cover changed it totally. I tried to get in touch with the cover artist, so I won't share that here, even though if you spotted it, and I think I spoke to Danny about this as well, in the trailer for the behind the scenes trailer for the Midnight Club, there's a very, very quick shot that actually does give away the Eternal Enemy, which is like, come on guys, don't give away your own stories.
But
so
I was really naughty the other night, was when, as usual, as when me and John were having a little chat the other night. I said, just show me. So he showed me, and I was like, oh, yes, that is a big spoiler. So is it fair to say if people do want to see it, if they maybe DM'd you, you could share it?
I'm quite happy to. I'm quite happy to share it if people want to see it, and if not, I'll send you I'll send you a copy of it, and then you can flash it up on the Eternal Enemy chat, because by that point people will know the story by then.
Yeah. That is a better idea than.
But it's like, I just found it, and I've never seen it before. It's not online, and I thought, there's no point keeping this to myself.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly,
awesome.
Yeah. So Emma, I know when we spoke last week, like, we was really enjoying the first few episodes. So is the show still meeting your hopes and expectations after watching these next three?
Yeah, I think it's very consistent. I and as I said to you guys, I didn't read Pike in my teenage years. This is the first time I've come to his work, so I'm coming to it as an adult, although I read a lot of YA. I think it's consistent. It's ticking along really nicely. I like it.
I thought you would. And when I was watching it, I thought Emma's going to be loving this. And then I guess it's like really huge mega Pike fans for John and Daniel. What were your expectations going in before you started the series? Were they like really high, and has it kind of met those expectations, Daniel?
I think for me, like, the Midnight Club was never one of my favourites, which I think for most people it is like one of the ones that a lot of people do say is their favourite story. But yeah, it's never been a favourite of mine. I read it, must have been sometime last year. Like, I reread it once they announced that the show was coming out. And yeah, it was okay, but not one of my favourites for Pikes. But I definitely feel as a TV show, it works even better. And as you said, it's very, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Which I was obsessed with when I was younger. Like, I watched every single episode. I've even started rewatching them now, and as dated as they are, but it's so similar to this. Even the whole, they join at midnight and they have their phrase they say at the beginning and tell a tale. It's just like, it is, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think and I've reread like the other books recently, and I think it's making me enjoy the show now a lot more. because I'm filling in the blanks of what's not been included in when they've been condensed down into their stories.
Ah, interesting. How about you, John? What were your expectations, and have they been met?
I mean,
so
I was just really, 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 really happy to get any kind of live action Pike, and especially when I realised it was Netflix and Mike Flanagan, I thought, oh, well, at the very least, even if this goes off on a completely different tangent, it's at least going to be a quality tangent. I wasn't expecting or had the expectation to come in and think this is going to be a slavish word by word, scene by scene adaptation of The Midnight Club, because first of all, the stories that were actually in the original book of The Midnight Club are just bonkers and bizarre and would just look really kind of a bit odd on screen. I think they wouldn't necessarily work. So I was really happy to get this show. But then when I saw the list of initially there was a few, I think 3 or 4 stories that were revealed, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then they released the whole list of them, and that's, I think, when I got really excited, because I was like, oh wow, we're not just getting one Pike adaptation, we're getting about 8 Pike adaptations. I have different thoughts about the success of some of those adaptations, but overall, I'm just delighted for Kevin Pike that after all this time, he's actually got something that is of a quality and done by somebody who actually cares deeply about, about the work that he's doing, regardless of how, how successful you think an adaptation is. I think no one could deny it's not been done with, some heart, and, it's something that I think Christopher Pike's deserved for a long time, especially after coming back on the back as well this year of the 3 Fear Street movies. I think, seeing that kind of renaissance in sort of YA horror, where it's treating the audience a little bit more intelligently than perhaps some of the original books might have done. I think that's just fantastic. So hopefully this just leads to even more Pike, and just sort of more a sort of resurgence of kind of good quality, intelligent adaptations of the YA stuff. So I'm loving it for those reasons, but not without issues.
Well, I mean, definitely. I'm sorry, go on, Daniel.
No, I was going to say, I think I was telling Shelley the other night that there was an interview that I read online in Teen Vogue that was saying, like, it was talking about the possibility of a second series. And in that they said that Netflix have got the rights to 28 of his titles. So like, Netflix definitely have a lot of faith in this if they've done that. So like that either means like we could get some movies
crossed.
or TV show adaptations from something else, or it's going to be, if we get additional Midnight Clubs, then and they follow the same format, like they've got 28 titles to work from, which is amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, can you imagine? That's just like, so when you told me that the other night, and obviously now, it just makes me so excited, because I just think, yay! And then obviously the 90s is in as well, because it's classed as like historical now, and I refuse to believe that the 90s
stop.
It was only like 10 years ago, right? It was only 10 years ago, but yeah, I think my friend Amy McCall, who wrote Mina and the Undead, she was doing a book chat, and she was put on a historical fiction chat. Like, panel.
My goodness!
And it was like just mind blowing, like, and it's like to think that it's just like, because her book's set in the 90s, that is historical fiction. Like, I refuse to believe it.
No.
I feel old.
Yeah,
retro, not historical.
Vintage.
Retro, please.
I agree with Karen in the chat though, the 90s was 10 years ago. Like, there's so many movies that I look at now, even if it's just like an early 2000s movie, and I look at it thinking like, oh, that's not that old, and then I'll start watching it and I'm like, this is 20 years ago.
It's like, it's crazy. Like, I think I saw like a meme or something, and it's like, I think it was like Skeletor, one of those funny ones that they've been doing, and it said something about the 80s was like, it would be 50 years or something, or 40 years or something, and I was like, no, it's not. And I was like, refuse to believe it.
Mad.
Larissa's put that she didn't read it until this year. I was most excited having multiple adaptations. I think that's the Midnight Club. That was what I was excited about. And Karen's put, which made me laugh because I thought the same thing. The creepy ghost lady reminds me too much of the witch from Terrorhawks. Does anyone remember Terrorhawks?
Yeah, Zelda.
I do, Zelda.
And spooks the bleep out of me, except last time where she just rolled her eyes and floated off.
Great moment, though.
Oh dear. And Karen's put as well, there's obviously a point horror or Pike kid working at Netflix, maybe. Obviously, Mike Flanagan's made it quite well known. He's a huge Pike fan. Everyone's like saying the 90s is 10 years ago. So we'll go with that for that. So episode 4 then. So one of the adaptations was obviously this book, Gimme a Kiss. Now, I'm always too scared to show this book because someone said to me, it's like it spoils the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it does.
So,
kind of a little bit.
Yeah. Not all
bit.
of it, just a bit. And I'd never noticed it quite 100% before. But someone said, that cover spoils the whole book. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it really does. And so I'm always a bit like, put it back down. But yeah, episode 4 was obviously Give Me a Kiss. We spoke a bit to Narissa last week about it because it's one of Narissa's favourite Pike books. So she was really excited to see the episode. So synopsis for the episode is the club explores a hidden chamber where Sandra's unsettled by the items in the room and a voice calls to Spence through the intercom, and Anya sees dark shadows. So obviously the episode starts off with the Midnight Club having found this secret basement, and it's super creepy, and I love like the little Christopher Pike Easter eggs in the book that they open, like Spellbound and things like that. And I just thought, oh, yeah, maybe future ones. But would you have been the team, let's go down there and explore, or would you have been the team, let's get out of here as quick as possible? Emma, I know what you're going to say.
I'm actually a bit torn by that question because part of me would have really wanted to look around and poke around down there and think, God, what's in here? You know, that I could find. What horrible treasure is in here? But I have horrible feelings when I go into places that are like old and possibly had culty stuff going on. So I'd have this horrible feeling up to here that I'd have to get out. And so I think that I don't know. I might stay for a little bit and then go, oh no, guys, I'm going now. See you later. Running back on my own. Wait for me.
And I would just hide behind Emma because, like, I would just let Emma protect me at all costs, and then run.
And I would.
I know you would, Emma. I know you would. How about you, Daniel?
I think, yeah, as a teen, I definitely would, and I still would as an adult. Like,
oh, brave.
As a teen, I was obsessed with the X-Files, like when that was out, and all that investigating spooky things, and like I was reading all these horror books as well. So yeah, I think I would. Like, I don't even know how old I was, but I was like a young teen, and I remember like on Halloween going on my own to a graveyard and trying to do a Ouija board.
Oh, on your own?
On my own.
On your own?
You're crazy.
Which they say, like, that's, you know, Ouija board isn't even supposed to work if it does work with just one person. But like, I was like wanting to find out if it would work, and I went and did it.
Did it
work? Nothing happened.
Oh. No. Now I'm disappointed.
But yeah,
did you ask your mates though? Did you ask your mates to come and they were like, nah, man, you're nuts. Go do it on your own.
No, I didn't want to tell anyone I was going to do it because I knew I was a weirdo.
We would have come with you.
We would have done it.
Yeah, we would have come with you, definitely. That's brave. I don't think I would be that brave to do it on my own. Definitely not. I'm too much of a wimp, can you imagine? How about you, John? Would you have stayed and explored or got out of there?
As long as everybody else was kind of with me and I could still see them, then yeah, I would have probably gone down there for a little bit, but on my own, or, you know, the first sign of trouble, I've been out of there. No, I'm such a wuss. I love horror movies, but in reality, I'm actually a big wimp, so no.
I mean, the first time they went down there and like she just had the match. And like, I was like, that would not be, I'd be able to do that.
And that's such a horror movie trope, isn't it? The match coming down and you striking it, and then there's someone behind your shoulder. I was like this, no.
I mean, I was actually watching, they were talking about this, I saw on YouTube last night, Trixie and Katia, the drag queens. They've done a Netflix video where they're watching, they do a recap of them watching the whole thing. And they were talking about this as well, and like how like just holding a match is just like the worst thing, because like there's just no light, it goes out too quickly, and then
burn your fingers.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah. And we can all guess that I definitely would have run away.
But if this was
100%.
now, we'd all have our flashlight on our phone, and it would be
fine. I'd still run away, but it'd be fine. Oh dear, knowing my look, like my phone would like run out of battery, like, you know, the classic. Something like that. Larissa's put either way. Oh no, hang on, I've gone too far up. Larissa's put as a teen, explore as an adult. No, and I kind of agree with that.
Seeing too much now.
Yeah. And she said either way, I'd be very much don't touch anything. And because they were touching like everything, and I was like, oh no, like what are they going to
Don't open that puzzle box. You know, don't take that key.
Don't touch anything.
I don't think it was in this episode, but it was in, I think it was episode 6 when they were down there again. But apparently that's where you get to see the what's called the Lasser glass mirror.
Yeah. I was talking to John about this, and like, because I was intrigued by it, and there was like a good post put up that I shared with John about that, and I find it fascinating. So that's something that Flanagan puts in somewhere in all of his series, I believe.
Pretty much everyone. Yeah, it was in like Gerald's Game as well, like the movie.
Yeah.
And I think because I think. And even in Midnight Mass, he had Christopher Pike books on a bookshelf in one of the scenes.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
So this was like 2 years ago, I think Midnight Mass was out. So like,
I love
when
that
this was
show.
all just a dream, it was, that was so good.
But I haven't watched that yet. I need to watch it. Definitely.
Watch it, Shelley. It'll scare the life out of you.
No, I don't need scaring anymore. So this episode, so Gimme a Kiss, really hones in on like beliefs and hope and like sadness and all kinds of feelings of being rejected by society and family. And it's especially shown in like the conversation between Spence and Sandra, obviously, which is the episode that it kind of centres around. So were these scenes quite impactful to you? Like, did they make you tear up? Did they give you feelings, John?
Yeah, hugely. That was unexpectedly emotional, especially Sandra's kind of little speech to Spence at the end when she'd finished the story Give Me a Kiss. I think that was, just incredibly powerful and kind of came from nowhere, and instantly I was like, wow, I not paid much attention to Sandra as a character. She's quite different from the book. But I thought the actress was phenomenal and sold that incredibly well. And I had a bit of a lump in the throat at the end. I thought both those characters handled it very well, but that was definitely her episode. She told the story, and she, just spoke so well. And I think, I've experienced some of that kind of discrimination that she was talking about. And just to see her kind of articulate that so well, and it does make you see it from a slightly different perspective. There's little chats I think in one of the other episodes where I think it's Natsuki comes into her and she says, I never really thought about how sort of lonely it must feel with you trying to always convert us to your faith, and I thought that was a lovely moment as well. And so Sandra for me in that episode was fantastic. So that did actually kind of impact me, and it was coming out of nowhere because it was coming after the rather silly the silliness of that story. So I think it was actually really well done. All those beats, the sort of campiness of the sort of the noir feel of Gimme a Kiss, and then it hits you with that, really powerful, simple kind of monologue. And the actress just delivered it just perfectly. She was fantastic. Yeah, really, really hit me hard, that one, unexpectedly. So that was a nice surprise. Yeah,
no, definitely. How about you, Emma? Did it make you a bit teary? Did it get to you? I was a bit teary.
It did, because I think that like John was saying, it is John, isn't it? I'm not saying your name right. I do this all the time. I'm going to call you Daniel and you John. No, I won't do that. As John was saying, it's the fact that she wouldn't compromise Spencer's humanity for the other people who are part of her religion. I think that was massive. That's huge thing for her to have realised about herself. Because I'm not sure in the beginning that she knew that or not. And although I don't, I'm going to be the one that goes now, because I don't like noir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody. I really don't like it. And so that was the one thing for me that I know that's a favourite of everybody's. Like, that's one of their favourite Pike books, but I didn't like it. And that was the only part I kind of found my mind wandering a bit away from the story. But it was because as well that there was one twist I didn't know because it was so ridiculous. You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah.
But the rest of it I kind of guessed, so I wasn't I thought I was infused with that campy bit, as you were saying there, but I did think that it was impactful contrast with the message afterwards.
And I think the reason they probably did it campy is because Gimme Kiss is so preposterous, like it's so ridiculous, and it is. And Daniel and I chatted about this, and I think the one thing it did miss was the real convoluted plot. In the book, Jake is Jane, so there's a lot of gender swapping in there, and poor Heather Langenkamp seems to just be playing police officers in all these stories as well, which is, Pike loves his procedurals, he loves his police officers, he loves his interrogation rooms, but the actual Gimme Kiss is so ridiculously preposterous. It's so over the top. I reread it, and it's such a quick read. But you lose all that real kind of intricate plotting that Jane comes up with. She's real dark in the book. Like, Jane is like completely, Jane Retton, who was Jake in the story, is so dark and so calculating. At one point, I remember she's sitting there thinking about revenge, and she's like, I can infect them with incurable diseases. And I'm like, good grief, woman, this is just like, this is a bit over the top. I mean, the book actually itself is really problematic. Like, you look back now and there's like fat shaming. There's every guy in it is like a real creep and a sleaze. The cops leering over the teenage girls in it. The school counselor at one point, when Jane's diary gets out, where she's faked the description of having sex with Kirk, the school counselor turns around and says, well, actually, this might make you a bit more popular in school. And I'm like, what? So the book does cut out a lot of this problematic stuff, but in the interim, I think it lost that sort of crazy setup. Jake references things like getting the dental records, which you don't even know that Alice's dad is a dentist at that point, where that's quite well set up in the book. So, but I think, the core of what they were trying to do with Gimme a Kiss worked so well in that episode that I kind of forgive all the foibles about it. I was surprised when they said they were using that one in Midnight Club, because I was like, it's not really kind of a horror, it's more of a kind of straightforward sort of teen mystery. But I can see now why they used it.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense to me now.
Yeah.
And the herpes thing, give me herpes. It was absolutely, but I love that line that Along had as well, when she went, wait, sorry, she killed him because he gave her herpes. And you can see the whole audience go, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I liked how it cut back to them, like, in real time, and they're like, what? Like, because we was all thinking it, like, at that same point when they did that, we was all thinking the same thing. Like,
and I didn't. I mean, Daniel, I don't know. Did you think they were going to go there? I genuinely didn't think they were going to go there with that. I thought there was going to be something else.
Yeah, I thought it would have been something different. But then also think, like, as dated as the book is, I mean, as John was just saying, how ridiculous it is. Like, the school counsellor is also someone who then, at some point, gives them a pack of condoms that he bought for himself, but like he just hands them to him. He's like, oh, I think you should need these if you're going to be getting around with guys and stuff. And there's just like some really weird stuff like that. But the main reason,
safeguarding issues.
I'm just gonna have a read.
But like, it doesn't come through in the TV show, but like in the book, there's so much more to it. And it's also the fact that like she gets shamed for sex for so much. Like, she has a really religious parent in that. And this doesn't come through into their story of it, but it's mirroring like her character in the Midnight Club, because like she's very religious, but in Gimme a Kiss, the story, she has a very religious dad who's always telling her not to have sex. And that's why she thinks that like getting this cold sore is just like a terrible disease. Like, she's like, he gave me a gift that I didn't want. It's not that she just noticed a cold sore. Like, she thinks like she's being damned for it. And there's all the stuff and all the shaming of the sex that happens beforehand, which is why she's just been brainwashed into thinking that the cold sore is so bad. Whereas when you watch it on the show, it does. I mean, it was still a bit ridiculous in the book anyway, that you're going to murder someone over a cold sore, but it kind of makes a bit more sense when you read the book. But still,
it does.
My reaction after rereading it recently was still, what the fuck?
What the hell?
Because I'd forgotten that was the ending. Like, I read these.
Same.
That I read back then. So when I got to that bit on the page, when I was just rereading it before the show, and I was like, really? Like,
I think I went into it thinking as well, I was getting Bury Me Deep mixed up with Gimme a Kiss because of the kind of scuba elements to both of them. You know, Pike put a lot of that into it. So it'd been so long since I'd read either of them that I was like, this is a different one. There is a great line in the book though, which I wrote down, which is like sums up for me. It was like, I used to call Gimme a Kiss, Gimme the Horn, because it was literally all these it's just randy teenagers. But there's a great line in it after Jane's like clocked who she thinks is like the person trying to kill her in the burning in the burning cabin. She clocks this person over the head, and it turns out to be Sharon, who's come up there looking for her, because obviously she told Sharon the whole thing. And then as poor Sharon's like lying there dying, Jade literally says to herself, why didn't I look at her for even a second before I brained her? Why did I care who knew I was horny when everyone is horny? I was like, oh my goodness. That was kind of it. Everyone was horny in this story. Everyone.
Oh God, love
a bit of Pike horniness. He needs to go to the horny jail.
So you see, now I know why people were like, how is this book going to fit into this series? Now I know why it was a bit of a questionable choice.
But they made it work, and I think that's the beauty of the sort of talent and care that's going into it. They've actually looked at that and said, how can we make this work in that episode? And they made it work.
I think it's the film noir that makes it work. Like, I think the amount that they've missed from the planning of the story and the plot and the craziness of how out there she went at planning this whole thing, that she thought, like, she literally thinks like, after all she's done this, she's going to turn up at school on Monday. It's like, not thinking there's going to be a whole weekend of people thinking she's dead. But like, the spin they put on it with filming it in the film noir way made it make up for what you missed out in the plot, I think. Like, I really enjoyed the way it was done and the storytelling of it, with the investigation with the detective.
Yeah, it's interesting, I think, because I thought I'd read Gimme a Kiss, but I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe over the years I've just heard about it rather than that I've read it, because now I definitely don't remember some of those things that you mentioned, but I'm going to read it just to see, so I've got a comparison, because I kind of liked it. Just for the more that it was just crazy, and I was like, what? It's like scuba diving equipment, the house is on fire, so he puts it on in the bath, and I'm like, wouldn't the water get hot? And like,
well, there was like, in the flashback, there's an oxygen tank that he's breathing from. And it's like, that would just explode and make it into
But I just love it for its craziness. I loved it.
I think in the book she literally just puts on the wetsuit and gets wet and then walks out, because she ends up like burning all the skin off of her feet. And like, because she walks through and the suit doesn't cover it, so like she walks out the house and like she's literally burnt off all the skin on her feet, and then has
kind of gross, isn't it?
Push start a car with bare feet and stuff. Like, it's
I've burnt the skin on my feet. It's not.
Emma?
Yeah, I did something really stupid. When I was in my 20s, my dad's a surfer, and when I was in my 20s, he said, "Em, let's go surfing now." It was a hot day, and we were going to walk down to the beach. This is when we were living in New Zealand, and he always walks back and down. He's got feet like leather, but I've got these dainty little feet, always in like trainers or slippers or whatever. And so I was like, walk down. I said, "Oh, it's a bit hot, Dad." And he was like, "No, it'll be all right. And it's only a 10-minute walk." But oh my gosh, I thought I was walking in hell. By the time I got to the beach, I had a blister this big on the ball of my foot, and I had to I went in and went surfing with my dad, and then I had to get out because I thought, gosh, my feet really hurt. When I got out, and I looked at my foot, the blister was like the whole bit of my foot. My whole foot was a blister, and I was like, and so I dug a hole in the sand and then just put my feet in the water at the bottom, and I was just like that, and then someone came over to me and said, "Are you all right, love?" And I said, "I don't think so." And they're like, "Are you hearing anyone?" I said, "Yeah, my dad." And then he had to come out. They waved him down, and he came and he carried me back home.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh, my mum was so mad. Because it had literally just burnt all the skin off the bottom of my feet. The tarmac was so hot that we was walking down. Yeah, so, you know, don't do anything stupid like that.
Oh, Emma!
We're fine though. So yeah, that's really quite painful. So
real
burning
life experience.
Yeah, I don't know how she would get in a car and push her foot against. There's no way I could have done that. I couldn't have put the pedal down. No.
Definitely not. Larissa, no. Larissa's put they did it so well. I think meaning Give Me a Kiss, because I know Larissa was a huge is a huge fan of Give Me a Kiss, and she put they tied it well to Alice in Give Me a Kiss, and also she put I think in the book it was originally intended to be something else that the publishers wouldn't go for. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Sharon's death was so upsetting in the book. And yeah, just embracing its pulpy nonsense. And I think that's like a good way of putting it. Like, it was just, like, I really liked it for that. That it was just, I can't explain why I liked it. I just liked it for, like, just the way it kept flashing back to the, like, real-time Midnight Club. And they're just like, replicating my face.
But also they were just so surprised that this was coming from her, because like they kept on saying about how she was doing all the angel porn stories before.
So
I think it was just such a different story to come from her, which is why they were so shocked by it.
Definitely. So we'll move on to episode 5. So episode 5 was obviously based on See You Later. I always find these eyes really creepy on this book. Oh, you've got the same copy as me.
This was my Gimme a Kiss, by the way, which was completely different.
That's okay. I like that cover.
Which definitely doesn't give the plot away. I wonder if that's supposed to be. I wonder if that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. But yeah, See You Later with these creepy evil eyes. And this is one that I had never read, definitely hadn't read, and because I always heard mixed things about it, that it was confusing and things, so I think I always kind of put it off. But having seen the episode, I probably will read it now. But episode 5 then, synopsis was Alonka digs deeper into Brightcliffe's mysteries and receives an unexpected gift. Later that night, the club gathers for Amesh's death day party, which I thought was done very well. So in the main storyline, we obviously learn about the Paragon cult, I think it's called. I think that's right. And obviously we get some flashbacks. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, were you expecting it to go that way? Did you like the like culty kind of vibe? Emma?
Yeah, I liked it. I like cult vibes.
I do as well. I was like, ooh.
I was like, I wasn't expecting that, because obviously in the book we didn't get any of that. I don't. Oh, gosh, no. I'm trying to think. Was there even hinted at? I don't think it was even hinted at in the book.
No.
So that was completely new, and I thought that was a great addition. I very much like the idea of that.
Yeah.
And the death day party. And you know, obviously I didn't even think of that being a thing, and of course it would be. Of course it would be. You would, if you were in that situation, you would celebrate that you'd made it past that day. So yeah, that was really I really liked that. I really like the light and the shade between these things of celebration and then the cult stuff and then trying to help your friend. It's like going back and forth in this episode quite well. I liked it.
Yeah, I loved it as well. How about you, Daniel? Did you like the storyline that it was going down with, like the cult setup kind of thing?
No, I'm really enjoying like the cult side of it, and you know, not knowing who Shasta is, but you know something's going to be going on with her.
She's there's something definitely.
And it's such a Pike name, isn't it? Shasta. It's such a Pike name.
Yeah, she's sus.
But yeah, I really enjoy it, and I think it's clearly just been added in for the TV show, and it really does work as well. Like, it's fitted in perfectly in with like the story of what's going on there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Midnight Club is notorious for being one of the Pike books where the back cover really doesn't explain at all what actually goes on in the book. Because when you pick it up and you think it's really going to be about people coming back from the dead and there's going to be spooky stuff going on in this hospice.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And
then you get
that's what I thought.
So that's the thing that I'm loving about the show, and having these extra storylines they've put in, is because it's bringing all of that out and you're able to tie things up. But also, like, I love now, as we were saying, like, it's now opening up with this storyline. It means, like, we can now have another season which could be a prequel or a sequel, like, depending on where they want, because they've got the whole storyline to link in with the Paragon Club, and they can show more about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future with it. So I'm really enjoying them.
Yeah, I'm invested in that storyline. Soon as, like, I love anything to do with cults and stuff like that. I have this fascination. I don't know why, I just do. I think I've mentioned it before to you, Emma. I'm like, ooh. How about you, John? What did you think with that whole storyline?
Yeah, I loved it. And as Danny was saying, it's so new. You know, that's one element of it where, you know, I'm kind of watching it as a novice. You know, I'm not going in as someone who's read the books, you know, and then, you know, it feels a little bit kind of like I know what's going to happen here. That's sort of the A. I've seen them described as the A story and the B story. So the B story is like the story they tell inside of it. So the A story is the kind of ongoing thing. So the A story is obviously just doing completely different things to the book. There wasn't much in the book that was really set outside of the Midnight Club itself per se, and there was none of this kind of delving into cult stuff. So that's all kind of new and exciting and interesting and very Flanagan from what I can tell, looking at, you know, a lot of his other stuff, which I'm not mad about. It seems really interesting. The one thing I thought here was obviously, I think for the first time, the group really felt cohesive. And I think I don't mean the group as in the characters, I mean as in the actors, when they were all sat around that campfire, you kind of really got the sense that this was a group of people that, you know, were kind of moved beyond just acting, and they actually genuinely all care for each other, and they have this real sense of camaraderie, obviously, because they're not just doing the A story, they're then all together in the B stories as well. So they quite clearly would have spent a lot of time intensively all together. That kind of cast of, what is it, eight of them, I think, have spent a lot of time intensely together. So I think for me, the one thing that really shone out from that episode was the fact that they, you know, do seem this really lovely cohesive group. And they're also giving nice moments as well to characters, you know, the new characters that have been created for the show as well, and not just not just kind of hardcore five that were in the original book. I love the moment with Sherry with the wig as well, because I think she's just adorable as a character. She's just so lovely. And again, she's one of those she's one of the new characters, and I think they've just come up with someone so interesting, and again, perfectly cast. The casting on this is just superb. Like, everybody's fantastic. Like chef's kiss. She's just so lovely and selfless, and you just get, and we haven't spent a lot of time with her really. She's been the one, I think, that's been neglected the most, I think, in terms of screen time and what we get to know about, which I hope means that they're saving something. Her and Spence, I think, are the two that we kind of seen a little less of. Natsuki as well, I suppose. But I hope we get a little bit more from Sherry, because she's absolutely adorable, and I just love her, all her, you know, far-fetched tales about, you know, her mum in Hollywood and all this kind of thing. She's just really interesting. That jump scare though, I was like, thank God, you know, not thank God, because, you know, I keep wanting to remember it's a horror, but when Ilonka comes out of the room and she's just kind of in normal mode, and suddenly she just sees the old woman standing out on his bed, I jumped out of my skin. That was fantastic. And it was like, it was up until that point, I'd kind of forgotten it was a horror show. And then obviously she follows into the room, and it does all that kind of weird stuff with the creepy sort of 30s music. And that was really, really atmospheric. So
lulls you into a full sense of security.
Just bang. Yeah, that literally, I'm not even kidding. I just went like,
I do just like that. Did make me jump, actually. I was like, oh, like, get away from Anya. Don't protect Anya. We must protect Anya at all costs.
Yes.
All costs.
Yeah.
Which is coming.
And it's funny that we all want to do that. They all are doing that. And we all want that the Maple viewers want to do the same. Even though at the start she was quite a pain in the butt, and she was so bitter. And you're thinking, oh, she's so horrid. And then over the course of the episodes, you're like rooting for her the most. You're like, come on, you know?
No,
just again, a credit to the actress.
Don't go yet. Yes, I think so.
Huge credit to the actress.
Yeah, and also a credit to Mike Flanagan in a way, because from what I've heard, I haven't seen much of his work, but from what I've heard, like the way he creates characters and the characterization is very much spot on. And I just think like that's what he's done in this series. And I love Anya so much. But talking about Sherry, when in that wig scene, I noted like a line down where I think Alonka says something like, why did you do this? And she said, just because, or because you mentioned it, or something like that. And I just thought, oh, how lovely. Like, it's just the most sweetest thing.
I thought you were going to mention my favourite bit from that.
Oh, go on, what's your favourite?
When she admitted that she'd like snuck into her room and stole her photos.
Oh yeah!
And I looked at her being creepy in my room, and how she's just. This is why I want to see more of her, because
Oh, she just
that the kinky thing with a measuring tape around her head. I'm like, this is just so weird. What's she doing?
Right her neck.
And then she said nothing, bye, and then closes the door, and you're like, okay, that's really strange.
Oh yeah, I really do hope we do get to see her more. And like, there was also a line that I really liked with the like death day party where they were like, "Thanks for being you, Amesh," and it just got to me because I thought, you know what, like what friendship that they've got, and that is just a line that like it's just thank you for being you. Like, how many people ever say that? I mean, I say that. I've said that to Emma, a number of times, but because I just think it's so impactful. Like, just to say that to your friends, like, thank you, like, for being the amazing you that you are. And I just think it's such a lovely little sentiment. And I was so glad to hear that. I thought, oh, it made me tear up a little bit. As you can tell, I'm like going, no. But yeah, I just absolutely loved it. And with Alonka's passion really comes through in this episode of like the commitment for like finding this cure. Or finding this unknown entity for her and these new friends that she's made. So do you think like she goes a bit overboard with it, or do you like fully back her all the way? Daniel, what do you think?
I think this is like, I like how this foreshadows, and like, I don't know, we've not got to that story yet, but her story in Witch. Yeah. It's like, because Witch, she's like playing this healing witch, and like that's her thing that she's doing in real life, which is like, I do like how everything is they're mirroring a lot of stuff that's going on in the stories they're telling with what goes on with them in real life. Because even with See You Later, like he has a death day in See You Later, the same as they were celebrating Amesh's death day. I really I like this storyline of her trying to find a cure. Like, it's given her a purpose, and like that's what she's there for. That's how she found like Brightcliffe, because she was searching online to find somewhere. She read the Julia Jane story, which I loved. Josh's theory that Julia Jane was going to be Julia from The Witch, but now we've had the Witch episode, so unfortunately, no. But I was really like,
that was good.
But when I watched last week's episode, and I was like, oh, I never even put together like Julia and like how witchy both the characters are, and I was like, wow, that would have been really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. How about you, Emma? Do you think Alonka's reasons are justified? She's got this hope and passion. What did you think of that? Is she gone a bit over the top?
No, never. She's just trying to do what she can to stay alive, and she's only young. I think I'd have done the same. I'd have tried to find anything, any crazy idea. I would have had it. I would have tried, and not just. But it wouldn't have just been for me in that situation. It would have been more so for my friends. So if I, making those kind of connections with people, I'd want to save them more than myself. So I'd be trying to find something that would help them. Because you can never give up hope, even as a teenager. Even if you're told, no, this is what's going to happen, there's no way out, there's nothing. I think the teenage spirit is just like, there has to be. There has to be. So that you'd just keep driving forward to find an answer, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, I would.
No,
Yeah.
I would do the same, definitely. Would you do the same, John? Would you do the same?
Yeah, I mean, like Emma says, I think when you're young, you don't have that kind of sense of, you don't have that optimism battered out of you yet that you might have done when you were an adult. I think maybe if Alonka was, 15, 20 years older, she might kind of have a little bit more of a realistic thing about it, maybe. But when she's, these are all kids, and she doesn't want to give up hope. But I think partly as well, she's doing it for her as well. I think she is so desperate to find a way to live, and that was established in the very first episode, that she's not someone that's going to sit there and just give up. That I think she's thinking, if I can make this work for Anya, I can make this work for all of the others, and I can make it work for me, and I can go back back to Tim, and back to my step family, my foster family. And so not that I'm saying that she's doing it for selfish reasons, but I think she wants to believe this so much that she's been carried away. And I think in the next episode is maybe where we see it going, oh, is this kind of going into a place she doesn't necessarily want to go? Is this going to be worth it? Yeah. So yeah, I do kind of agree, and I like Daniel referencing the sort of the death day with see you later, because this was the B story, and this one was the one I liked the least so far out of all the stories for me.
Interesting.
Okay.
I think it was missing the actual core, and for me, See You Later was a love story. It was a romance. It was this kind of time travel-y romance story, and there was just none of that in the book. You just didn't feel the love and the affection that in the book Mark has for Becky. In the book, Cara comes back, and you can see that she's such an intense person, and she's trying so hard to break up Mark, or Luke. Is he Luke in the story? I think they changed his name to Luke for some reason. So for me, the heart of that was kind of missing as a kind of an adaptation. They hit all the notes. There was actually more in there that was exactly like the book than I kind of expected there to be. But for me, the actual heart of that story was missing, that was in the book as an adaptation, and as part of that episode. I think it worked very well. But that's one I would say to people, go back and read it. It is actually quite complex. It's quite a convoluted book, and it does go into kind of the traditional Pike bonkersness towards the end. But it does, you do get more of that sense of, it takes the time to build up that relationship and with the two of them. And even when I read it originally, I actually kind of guessed what was going on, but I didn't really know what the actual end result was going to be. But for me, it was missing just some of that kind of that romance element, that sort of romantic element that I think made the initial kind of character motivations work better. It just was a little cold. It was a bit cold for me, I thought.
I didn't realise it was a romance.
No.
It was that cold. I didn't even think that at all.
It's not a notebook or anything, but there is definitely a lot in there. And actually interesting, I don't know if you would agree, Daniel, I think there's a bit of a Betty Sue in Mark in the book as well. There's a lot of elements there. Obviously in his early stuff he was putting in a lot of the things he likes, and in this one Mark is a computer programmer and enjoys astronomy, so I think there's this element to Christopher Pike in that character as well. But the heart for me was missing from that adaptation. It was a good adaptation, just the heart of the book was missing.
There's so much of the story in the book is just them getting to, like, they become friends, and like he finds out she's got a boyfriend, but they still meet each other, and like you can tell that she likes him, but like she can't get together because she's got this boyfriend, and like they meet up over and over again and meet for lunch, and like it really does build up a lot more than you really don't get to enjoy any of that in the series itself. But then also I found with the book, as much as I did really enjoy the book, there is also a lot of plot holes in the book which make no sense at all. Hugely. So I think it benefits in the show from that, because it doesn't go into the detail. You then don't get the plot holes that he had in the story. Agreed.
It's quite a tricky one. I thought that would be quite a tricky one to execute in a book. I haven't read the book, but when I was watching, I was like, that would be quite hard.
Did you like the story, Emma? Like, I really like the story, and it's intrigued me now to actually read it. Oh, not that one. It's intrigued me now to read it. It's never appealed to me. It's like Narissa's just said. It's one that's never appealed to Narissa either. But would you read this now on the back of that, seeing that short story, Emma?
Yeah, I think I would. I thought it was quite interesting, but I didn't get, as I say, the romance bit didn't resonate with me at all. I felt that was a bit empty. I was like, what's going on here? There's no reason, there was no passion behind it. So but I like the idea of the time travel and the game and the game, and so I like that.
It was really intriguing. I definitely, and like as Nerissa said, Pike explored a lot of ideas deeply, and some just aren't going to fully translate to screen. So I'd be really interested just to read it now so I can compare. And Speedway Chicks put same. I'm not sure whether that was about that it's appealed to Speedway Chick to read it now. I'll just go back to some comments because I saw some good comments earlier and I lost track.
I don't know how you keep track. I look down every now and again and go, ooh.
Nerissa's put that they haven't said it's not that. They've said it's not a limited series, so there might actually be more. So exciting.
Well, no, I think also knew Mike Flanagan said if they don't get a second series, he's going to tweet out what he was going to do for the second series, because it does end on a cliffhanger. No spoilers. But there is a cliffhanger.
Naughty.
Very naughty.
But he said because clearly he's got so much passion for this and he's planned out what he's going to do, and I think I can't imagine how to do this job as being a film producer, because you must have all these ideas, and then if something like this happens and it gets your story cut off halfway through. So he's already said if we don't get a second series, he's going to tweet out what he planned to do. Whether or not it will be as a short story or if he's just going to put bullet points, but he's going to at least give people closure if they don't get renewed.
And it's Netflix, so there's every possibility it might not.
Hit and miss. Hit and miss. Karen put, I thought I hadn't read any of the MC Midnight Club books. I had to think what MC was there. It's all right because my surname used to be, before it was Toy, it was Collins. So when I see MC, I automatically think, anyway.
The Michelle Collins books.
No, it's just what I think. But Karen's
coming soon.
Oh dear, it'll just be angel porn. But Karen's put, but I keep finding storylines that I know and keep going, oh wait, I must have read this. Speedway Chick put the voiceover, the intercom at Spencer was creeping me out. With all these, they do keep hearing creepy voices.
There was another scene as well, which I went back and tried to pause and go really quick. I think it's when Natsuki's walking past. It's after Tristan died, and she walks past, and there's just a really brief glimpse of somebody in the room. I think it was episode 3, which was after Tristan died, and you go back and watch it because it was that's the sort of stuff I think it's done really well, because remember she stops and kind of goes back, and then she goes in and checks the sheets and she says, they won't move, they weren't warm, there was nobody actually in there. But if you look really, it's kind of a blink and you miss it bit. There's obviously somebody in the room, which was incredibly creepy, but I went back to make sure that I hadn't missed it, and I was like, no, it's definitely something there.
Interesting. And Nerissa's put, it's all melded really well. Flanagan is so clearly influenced by Pike, and it's a perfect match, and I agree with that. Nerissa, Anya was one of the strongest characters in the book. I think Anya was my favourite character in the book, and Emma, was she yours was Spence, wasn't it? I think
I liked Spence and Kevin in the book, but when I came to watching on the TV, Anya and Alanka took over, and I was like, okay, I like the girls. Now I think it's like Spence, Anya. So it's changing all the time.
No, I'm the same, but I still think Anya for me. I don't know, it's just something about her. Speedway Chick has pointed out, I feel that we're forgetting the cast are incurable. So Alanka is running through the library, surely having read the book and knowing what is wrong with her. How does she get the energy to do all the running and the walking in the woods?
She did seem to be in the book though, one of the ones that was more well than the others. So in the book she came across as the one who was, that's why she thought that she was getting better, and that's why she thought that she had gone away. So I think that's probably why she's allowed to run around a bit more.
But also in the book, she was already in Brightcliffe or Rotherham, as it's in the book. She's already there. That's already been established. She's already part of the Midnight Club. Whereas in the TV show, you know, obviously she's a little bit earlier on in her kind of in her sickness, so she's not actually probably as far down the road as I think she probably was in the actual book of the Midnight Club. You know, we don't get any of that in the book. We just open up in the book, and she's already in Brightcliffe or Rotherham. So, you know, taking a few liberties, and also, you know, they need to have somebody kind of running around and advancing the plot a little bit. And as you said, she probably seems the most well out of them, perhaps.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Although I was very disappointed that she didn't know what a Dewey Decimal number was.
She seems smarter than that. Bright girl, smart girl.
The minute I saw the number on that artwork, I was like, that's clearly a library reference number.
Oh, did you? I didn't. I was like, what is it? I was going to Kev, my husband. I was like, do you know what it is? And he was like, no.
Kev normally knows things, yeah.
Oh no, it went over my head, that dude. And they even mentioned like the library and everything before, so I should have got that one. Lewis just put while his books were short, they contained a lot. So talking about Pike, and Philip, hi Philip, Overlook Hotel receptionist just put, my sister is going to a Halloween party as Dr. Stanton, and her wig is epic. That's amazing. I love it.
Some like that sort of crocheted cardigan. She's got a good line in kind of like little knitted cardigans and things.
Yeah. Oh dear. Heather Langenkamp just plays she's absolutely fantastic.
So good.
Great casting.
So good. Yeah.
Loved it. Great to see her in there.
Yeah, Narissa's put, love that we're all on the same 90s page, that where, hang on, what am I doing? Love that we were all on the same 90s page there with the naughty. Yeah. She's told me to contain myself, Shelley. Yeah, me too as well. Yeah. I think I've got to the bottom. Speedway Chicks, but I don't think Spencer's character is as strong in the show compared to the book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I agree. Yeah, I would have liked more of Spencer. Yeah.
I think maybe they're saving it though, Emma. Do you think maybe they're saving it up?
I hope so. I really hope so, because he was my favourite in the book, and I love his stories. So they made me laugh. I was like,
and also he has a very kind of important plot point in the book with one of the characters, which you know, I'm not sure they could get away with in the setup they've provided here.
No. And I did think they did him dirty in the book, so I'm hoping for something a bit different.
Yeah,
we talked. I mean, Shelley and I were talking about this the other day as well, and just the way they've handled the sort of HIV storyline, the fact that he is gay, and that's done very differently in the book, where he hides his diagnosis, and I think he says he has a brain tumor or something in the book. I can't remember exactly what it is, and then he doesn't actually reveal to his HIV diagnosis and sort of the fact that he's gay until much later on, until I think, you know, right before the end, really. And obviously that's very different in the show, where he kind of revealed it to the group as a whole. And Mark, obviously the nurse there, he's having that kind of relationship, that sort of chat with the nurse there. So that's done differently. But I suppose, you know, again, when I read that book as a I think it was 94 that Midnight Club came out, around then. There weren't still that many, you know, sort of queer characters in any kind of YA fiction. So just the fact that, you know, Pike put him in there, and I think tried his best. I want to give him credit for the fact that he put that character in there and tried his best. And he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing anything that anybody else wasn't doing. There was still a lot of stigma around HIV and AIDS at that time. There was still a lot of ignorance, still a lot of, you know, education. Things have advanced so much in that time. But I think putting that character in that story, and, you know, however, you know, mishandled it may have been, that was a product of its time, I think, rather than Pike himself, perhaps. And I'm sure if he did that over again, he'd do it differently.
Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think
that's what I'm hoping for in the series. They would have realised that and gone, actually, we're going to do a little bit different. I hope.
No,
only Daniel knows.
Daniel. Larissa has put, I think, show-wise, the change works. So I presume that's with Spence. But yeah, it's yeah, I'm with you, Emma. I'm hoping, praying. So we'll move on to episode 6 was obviously Witch. So based on this one, and I've always loved this cover. It's like, yeah,
that's a cool cover.
Yeah, have you got this cover, Daniel? Or...
Yeah, mine's the same.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Well, you've got the red writing.
You've got a red writing.
Oh,
I think that's the same
one.
I think it's almost the same font as See You Later, is it, with the red and the white almost?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, John knows I'm very specific with my Pike covers that I'm collecting.
Me too.
Did you not notice the red and before?
Oh, what's yours on the side?
That's the side.
So yeah, so I've got this one.
So yeah.
My one,
I think I think that would be the next printing after that one. Yeah.
Look at us all. We're like, what are we like?
But I'm very specific where I've got my bookcase where I've got them lined up that I want the covers changing in order as they came out. So I can't have like a first one before a second edition. So
I like that.
I approve of that.
So Witch's episode was about with Anya's health hanging in the balance. Alonka and the others move quickly to perform a ritual from the Midnight Club's past. So with this episode, we kind of jump back into Kevin's story of the Wicked Heart straight away. So it kind of changes the layout of the episode. So what did you kind of think of like us jumping straight into it? I was a bit confused for a second when the episode started. I was like, what have they done to my Kevin?
Yeah.
I was like panicking a little bit.
It took me out when I first watched it.
Yeah.
Because I remember literally grabbing the remote control thinking I'd like hit fast forward or something to like check where I was on the episode.
Yeah.
But then I feel and I was okay with it, but I think because I literally binged the whole thing in one day, everything was fresh in my mind. So it had only been, I don't know, 2 hours since I'd seen the end of it.
Yeah.
But I think if you were pacing yourselves like most normal people do and not watching all at once, I think it would have been even more confusing because it just didn't give you any time to kind of like adjust yourself and remember what you're looking at.
Yeah, it just went straight in there. Like, I did think I jumped ahead.
We got two half stories in the episode. So I will sacrifice having an odd beginning if it means I get 2 different stories. Like it was worth it in the long run.
And did you like the second instalment to the Wicked Heart?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's such a good story. And again, because like obviously there's a lot that was missed out of this. Like I know you discussed who the enemy was. I think was it Emma that didn't know what it was, or was it you who didn't know?
Oh, which bit in the Wicked Heart? Who
the enemy is that we can't talk about in the Wicked Heart.
Oh yes. I'll have to tell you later, Emma, but I'll have to probably text you, not on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh no, you need to read it. You need to read the book. Like seriously.
Oh yeah.
Really do.
Speed read.
How would they do that? Like, are they going to talk about it? But I feel as if like in the book it does work really well, and like it's the enemy that they have does work in it, but like obviously it wouldn't fly now on TV to have that. But there's a lot more that.
Oh gosh, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I'll text you.
You don't learn anything about it being his mum involved in it until like towards the end of the book. Whereas here they're just going straight in with it. That he knows it's his mum doing this, and she is so creepy. Like when she's
so creepy. When he turns over in the bed,
she's in the bed.
She's like, I'm going to do that to Kev later when he turns over. Ooh, Shelley,
do it. He'll punch you in the face or something. Don't do it. I'm like a knee-jerk reaction.
I didn't even clock that the mum in the Wicked Heart story is Kevin's mum in the Midnight Club. I didn't clock it was the same actress at first until I think I was on IMDb or something and realised. So yeah, I love how they're piecing like the characters, even like these, like the mum who we only met for like a brief scene, is still like being carried over into the stories as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. What did you think, Emma, when you when that episode first came on? Did you think you'd clicked the wrong episode like me? I thought, oh no.
No, I just literally thought we'd been dropped back into his story. I didn't think that we'd missed anything at all. I was just like, oh, now we're here. Okay, and I just went with it. But yeah, I liked being back in the Killer Kevin story. I was like, oh, okay, we're back here now. This is cool. So yeah, I didn't think I'd missed anything. I was just like, la la la, off we go.
Oh dear. And so you liked like the kind of second instalment of the Wicked Heart, Emma? Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping we should get the the last part of it. Yeah, Daniel's nodding. That was just like a little look at Daniel's. How about you, John?
Yeah, no, it did take me a second to adjust. I think only because there'd been so much happened, even just since the last time we'd seen that bit of the story. And yeah, I thought it was actually really good, and they're kind of advancing it a little bit. I genuinely didn't think they were going to do what the book does. I just thought, that there just isn't, aside from any else, there just isn't the time to do that justice, and it would be the most kind of outlandish thing to try and jump in at the last second. But I do like the fact that they're not shying away from in terms of the actual story. It's the Wicked Heart one is the most graphic and brutal, I think, and they're not shying away from that. The idea, and I think that nice juxtaposition of Kevin, who's kind of quite baby-faced, smacking girls in the head with a hammer, and then kills the kid as well. I mean, that's just something it's just never done, and you don't see that, but obviously later on, because you see his ghost screaming at him, that he's actually killed the kid as well. So yeah, I like that kind of juxtaposition. I'm kind of sad, and this got me thinking as well, I'm kind of sad that we're not going to get the actual proper adaptation of the Wicked Heart now, probably, because I think it would have made a really great kind of standalone piece, and that's kind of my only reservation with some of these adaptations, is probably taking these books out of the game a little bit in terms of whether we'll get full-on adaptations later on. But yeah, I kind of like it, and Kevin's adorable. Even when he's smacking girls in the head with a hammer, I'm kind of like, actually, you're kind of cute. You're still really sweet and kind of cute. I kind of like you.
I think even in the book, and I think Amesh says, at the end of the story, he's like, I can't believe you've made me feel sympathy for a serial killer. And I felt that reading the book as well.
I just was seeing it because this is one of the books. It was around the time that it came out, and I chatted to Pike about it. And when we chatted, he said, "I never wanted to do a serial killer book, and I wrote The Wicked Heart. I couldn't get the story or the character out of my mind. Dusty does go around killing these girls, but as one critic pointed out, he takes no joy from killing and is thoroughly miserable about it. And he felt this redeemed the story. It still had its moral element," which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
that's his view. That we were talking about the violence and in some of his books, and how that one was probably the most violent one that he'd probably written.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, do read it.
I'm intrigued to read that one as well. Oh no, have I read that? I've read that one. I have read that one because I know the thing that I think Narissa said she's messaged you, Emma, but the thing that I'll tell Emma after. Yeah.
I mean, it's two things really: snapping and cockroaches.
Yeah.
Cockroaches.
Yeah.
You want to know this?
And Narissa's put, say what you will, Pike did interject interesting factors. So I think that's when we were talking about the HIV and things. And even with the Wicked Heart and what he did in that book, it's all interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't seem afraid to take a risk, which I like. I like the fact that he's not scared to touch on any subject. He's going to have a go at it.
Yeah, and the publishers go along with it. Nowadays, would that happen? It's do you know what I mean? Would it happen nowadays? Would you have that much? I don't know, in YA maybe. He
was selling so many at the time that I think they kind of just were we're just going to let him go off and do what he wants to do. Yeah. I mean, he was censored a little bit in the UK. I had an edition of I think it was the first Tales of Terror, which was a markup edition from the UK editor, where they went through and changed language and references, and there was so much that they were chopping huge paragraphs out that were stuff that was probably, you know, a little bit too much. So there was, between the US and the UK, there was definitely a kind of feeling, I think, that there was some things that were acceptable at the time in the UK that were not, that weren't acceptable that were acceptable in the US but not in the UK. But I think just because he was selling so much, you know, in his day, that they were just like, whatever he's doing it right, so we're just going to let him get on with it a little bit. And he seemed, and when he was talking about the violence and that, he seemed to know the limits. He seemed to kind of know how far he could kind of push it, you know, before it was a little bit too much.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting because I think, was it Slumber Party that they, like, it shows the difference he had in like his power against the publishers, because when he had Slumber Party, which is like one of the first books that he wrote, he originally wanted it to be supernatural, but they changed it to be just like a crime, and you can still see the elements of it there that he wanted it to be, I think, pyrokinesis, and they changed it just to be, you know, just a regular teen murder. And I think it shows that like they had the power against him then, but he was then getting more and more powerful now.
Yeah.
So they were allowing him to just write and go ahead and do whatever he wants. And he went.
And often the meddling is not right, because a lot of authors that I talk to that come in the shop, they ask me, I read their books obviously, and they ask me what I thought. And I'm always honest. I'll never tell someone I loved it when I didn't. I will never say that. I'll tell people what I did like and what I thought was. And I've said to a couple now, I didn't like what you did with the ending there. I wish you'd have done this. And they say to me, and they're so happy because actually they did do that, and the publisher made them change it for one reason or another. I won't give away what reasons, because the authors will know who I'm talking about. But for one reason or another, they've made them change it, where I think it's to the detriment of the story, and they shouldn't have done it. So don't meddle with the authors.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Like, I just find it fascinating. It's a subject I could talk so much about, because I find it really, really interesting why they change certain things. It's amazing. And I made a mistake. Narissa said sending the book, not what you're talking about, to Emma. I forgot. So I think she's going to send you the book. And Narissa said The Wicked Heart was done so well. Karen put, how did he murder her without getting any blood on the pillowcase? He just made the bed like la la la, all good here. It's experience, Karen.
I was going to say, he's done it quite a lot. There's like 30 girls screaming at him every night. He's done it quite a lot.
Like when he got to the 30th, he was just like, yeah, you watch me, I can do it. No blood splatter. Professional. Can you imagine? Oh dear. So I'm just conscious of time, but I'm absolutely loving our chat. It's really fascinating. So obviously with regards to Witch, so I think I just saw Narissa earlier say she's curious as to why people like Witch, I think, and it's the one that Narissa's disliked. So first of all, with regards to the short story we get in The Midnight Club, what were your thoughts on that, Emma? Did you like it? I felt it was a bit short, like I wanted more.
it was short, but I did like the idea of the being able to see the future. This is what we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in the book, so I'm just like, I am the right one.
Band, yeah.
I liked that. I like the idea of that it will eventually snap back, and I like that she tried to save the girl from losing her ice cream, and then anyway she lost it anyway. So you can't do anything about it. But even though she knows that to be true, she still does what she does. And it's interesting to me that even if human beings know something to be true, they know that if they do that, that's the outcome it's going to be. They're still going to try and hope that it will be a different outcome, which I thought was great. I enjoyed that. I liked the episode.
Yeah, I like
the story.
Well. Yeah. How about you, John? So did you like the episode for one, and how did it compare to the book?
Yeah, so both. I loved the episode as a whole, and it just harks back to me what I was saying before about that sort of cohesiveness of a group that I felt. You know, you got that amazing scene with the ritual, and you just the love that you for those actors obviously felt for each other, and the characters just kind of shone through the screen. And what a great cliffhanger at the end. What I really wish they'd ended up was like Anya sort of in a sort of real Irish way going, "Oh shite," or something when she sees them coming down. That would have been brilliant. That would have been so Anya. That's my only complaint.
That
but
would
obviously,
have been so great.
but obviously, Witch was my first book. It's the one I feel very nostalgic about. I did reread it, and you know, it doesn't hold up as well. You know, the first half of it is great, and then the setup, I think he kind of ties himself in some knots again, as Daniel was saying before, plot holes. You know, you could make Swiss cheese out of a bit later on. But it's it's one of his early ones. I can see where he's going with it, and the story. You know, it was a short segment. They can't possibly do everything, and they've made some weird changes to some of it, which I don't quite get. But I do want to kind of point out that, you know, I would shoot that wig that Kevin was given in the car, that awful straw wig thing.
Was horrible.
It was like the wig they would put on Lou Ferrigno in Incredible Hulk. It was just terrible. You know,
I said to John, it was like one of my ex's hairstyle earlier.
Very 90s floppy hair.
I did love how they tied it in, and again going back to kind of when we first saw the titles that were going to be used, kind of going, oh, that's kind of weird, odd choices. But now now we see them in context, in situ. I think they've been very clever, and I think it was Pike that kind of gave him like 10 stories that he thought would work really well, and they've obviously maybe gone back and built the story or the plots around them a little bit. So it works as it is. I'm just looking forward to seeing how they resolve it. There's a lot to get through, so again they'll probably just pare it right down, because there's an awful lot still to get through. I mean, the bit that they covered so far is probably like the first third of the book, I think.
So we'll get another kind of witch.
Yeah, I don't know if it plays over. I don't know if it's playing over 3 episodes like Wicked Heart, or if it's 2 episodes. But there's definitely a lot that they haven't covered. So I suspect
Daniel's like.
I suspect it will be very abridged.
Yeah, Daniel's like.
Oh, sneaky Daniel! Sneaky Daniel!
Did you like the witch story in Midnight Club, Daniel?
Yeah, I did really enjoy it. Like, it's one of my favourite books. Like, and again, it's a nostalgia feel for it, and just like the cover for me is just like, it's one of the first ones I'd seen, so it's just like an iconic cover. Like, takes me back when I see it. And I'm just here for anything. Once there's a witch in the storyline, I'm like, I'm here. What is that? What's happening?
That's why you came to this chat, because it was like the witch asked you, as in me. My witch cackle. Sorry, I've put you off.
I really enjoyed like the special effects. It seemed very 90s cheese, but I just loved
so glowy foreheads.
It made me feel like I was watching an episode of Charmed or something. But no, it was, it's a good story there, and like I mentioned before, like I love how it's setting Ilonka to be like the healer of the group, and having her be the witch healer in the storyline. Like, it's mirroring what's going on in real life to the story that she's telling.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then obviously we get this climax that it builds up to, which John mentions, where they start doing this ritual, and it kind of leaves us on this cliffhanger. And obviously she uses, is it Shaska's blood as like the 5th sister and stuff like this, and I'm like, hell no, this is not going to end well.
Don't do it. Whose blood is that?
It's funny how they kind of say, like, whose blood is that? Like, they query it,
and she's like,
she just doesn't give them any choice. She's like,
take it in now. It's in now. You can't ask me any other questions.
It's fine. But yeah, so what were your thoughts on, like, I kind of liked how we ended it, apart from Daniel, how we ended it there, with like the cliffhanger. So what are your like kind of, I won't ask Daniel this, but Emma, what are your kind of predictions for like what's going to happen next, or what would you like to see happen?
I have absolutely no idea. I have no idea where this is going whatsoever. I because I've not read any Pike, and the Midnight Club was my first one. you know, I know how that ends, but I can't see how it's going to end that. You know, obviously I know what happens to all the children, which is devastating, but I can't see how it's getting to this place at all. I don't know. So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued. How about you, John?
I like Emma. I find it difficult to disentangle myself from what I know happens in the book. But what's this, 6 episodes in and no one's died, and I'm thinking they're going to have to. They're in a hospice. They've all got terminal illnesses. At some point, people are going to start dying, and I think at some point they're going to have to sort of drop that reality on us. So I'm thinking, even if it's not who that cliffhanger might suggest it is, I think I think we're due to lose one of the characters very soon. So that'll be heart-wrenching when it does, because I think that will just remind everybody, we're actually in a hospice, and this is the actual story. This is about kids trying to cope with their own mortality when they shouldn't have to, and that'll bring it back. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to in a way, because I think that's the crux of the story, but I'm dreading it as well.
I am dreading it. Just going to be crying.
I kind of thought, and I can't remember fully why I thought this when I first watched it on whatever day it was in the week, this witch episode, and I thought at the end, I think Sandra's going to die, because
Sandra?
My theory was, Daniel's like, no, I'm probably not right, but my theory was, so it was something to do with the witch episode. So then I was thinking, right, if they save Anya, someone else has got to die in her place, because I was thinking of kind of the witch episode, and because Sandra kind of was, I don't know why I thought it was Sandra, that's the only thing why I can't remember, but I kind of just thought there's going to be some type of swap that we're not expecting.
I see.
And thing like, and it was all relating to the witch episode, and I thought it's going to be, if you change that person's fate, it's going to come back on someone else. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was thinking it might go, but I'm always wrong. So don't listen to me. And
in the book, obviously, the conclusion of Sandra's story is quite a surprise in the book as well. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe they might go down that route as well, with obviously no spoilers there, but obviously she has a very sort of startling conclusion to her story in the book as well. So lots to come.
Yeah, no, that was just kind of my little theory. And if you're wondering why I haven't asked Daniel that question, it's because he's watched all of it. So we can't ask Daniel. So my kind of last quick fire question, because I know we've gone really over time, but I'm so thankful for you, like all the comments and everything. But if you could recommend, so Daniel and John, one Pike book to either adapt or for someone to read that they have to read, what would you recommend?
I'm going to say Monster. It's my absolute favourite Pike book. It opens like the most violent opening of any Pike book, and it just doesn't let up from there. Now, he kind of rewrote it again in a book called Hollow Skull a bit later on, but for me, Monster is always the one that's sat with me, and it's the one that I think would make the most sort of cinematic film. I think you can make a really great movie out of that. So Monster would be my tip. It's scary, it's violent, it's fantastic. Read Monster.
I wonder if that's one of the 28 that Mike Flanagan's got access to.
That's one of the ones I don't want him to try and squash into an adaptation in the Midnight Club. No. I want a full adaptation.
You want a full adaptation, Nerissa said Monster 100%, so interesting.
Yeah, it's such a good horror. It's a proper horror story.
Yeah.
We'll have to check. I haven't read that one either, Emma, so we'll have to check that out, definitely. How about you, Daniel? If you could pick one, but only one, what would it be?
So I'll be cheeky and I'll pick one series.
The
Vampire series.
The Lost Vampire series. I think Nerissa did this. Or someone did this last week. They chose a series, and I said, okay.
Yeah, like I've not reread any of them since I was a teenager. Like, I've collected most of them now, and I've not read any of the later ones that came out, because it's up to about 8 titles, I think, and apparently he's still got another one that he keeps on promising to release. But I love vampires too, and I was just like, if that could be a TV show, like, I remember loving the main character, Alyssa. Like, I remember that one standing out from when I was a teen. But one thing I read on the Simon and Schuster website last night was that if you look at his biography on there, because they've updated it to say that Midnight Club's being turned into a movie, TV show, they mentioned that there's also the rights to Chain Letter with Hollywood. Is all they say, like it's with Hollywood.
With Hollywood.
Yeah. And in that interview I did with him, Daniel, he said that when he was talking about stuff that's coming out, he said he's working on a series based on the Chain Letter books, which utilise the same premise but with totally new characters. So that was back in 90, whatever year that this interview was done, like 94 or something.
Oh,
so who
can you
knows?
imagine?
That could be coming as well.
And Chain Letter's obviously been floating around for a while then.
Oh, Nerissa's just put, Pike didn't give them Monster as he wants it to be a standalone.
Yes!
Perfect.
Very happy.
Oh, well done, Nerissa. Oh, brilliant. Oh, God, I have to check that out. And Nerissa's also put The Lost Mind and Hollow Skull is awesome.
Lost Mind was one of the stories that was in the old journal that they found. It was The Lost Mind, the Lost Mind, Spellbound, and The Visitor.
Yeah. Oh,
so potentially could be potential future stories in the series too.
Oh, I'm so excited. Like, I just want more. And I want more 90s. I want a point horror adaptation. I just want everything 90s, everything retro. Yes!
Just stay in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Give it me.
Comfy donkey.
Give me all the historical fiction. All the historical.
Stop that. Retro.
Oh dear. But thanks guys. Thanks for such a fabulous chat. It's been like brilliant. I've loved chatting to you. And this was John and Daniel's like first live
debut.
And they agreed to do it. It was their debut. And they agreed to do it when I asked. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys
for saying yes. It was brilliant.
It's been a pleasure.
Loved it.
And come back again soon.
Yeah.
And
love to.
I think it's Toy Nuki. I always say it wrong. I'm so sorry. Making me feel old. Yes. And Karen said Forbidden Game Trilogy TV show, which would be so cool. And apparently, it's coming. Apparently, who knows when, but we'll see. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's joined in the comments. And we'll be back next week where we talk about the last 4 episodes. And we've got Josh will be back, and I'm going to ask him about Witch as well, because Witch is Josh's favourite Pike book, so we'll briefly ask him about that and see what he thought. And then we've got another guest. But thank you guys for being brilliant guests, and thank you. Thank you for being wonderful you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.